You have unfinished business. I have unfinished business. The world has unfinished business because something was trying to happen, a decision, an action, a direction that you wanted to take back in November. And then by December the 6th, you said, let me think about that some more. And that is because Mars was moving through the sign of Leo back in November through actually until January 6th of 2025. But it was that turnaround on December the 6th that stalled out, and had you reconsider. And now you're ready to make that decision for real and go forward with assured passion and momentum. You know where you need to go, what you need to leave behind, what you need to cut away from your life in order to succeed in the Leo part of your sky. And this is the week you begin to discover that. On April the 18th, Mars will move into Leo. He will oppose Pluto. Wow. And then he will trundle forward, allowing for momentum and direction and action decisions to be made in the Leo part of your sky. And that's one of 12 parts of your life story. It could be about your marriage, your home, your career, your children. It could be about anything. And so we're going to talk about your sign, Mars heading direct, and what that means for you in Leo as he goes forward for 2 whole months. April the 18th to the middle of June. By the way, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac and the whole sign house system. This kind of content is great for timing your best life, but it is still general astrology. So remember, this is not your natal chart yet. The way the sky is working, the way this thing is happening in our heavens, we haven't seen this kind of sky since 1977, 78. So this is very rare. And in astrology, we kind of say the rarer something is, the more potent and powerful it is. And this is one of those things. So we'll talk about it for your sign. I might briefly touch on the world stuff as well, but this is really for you to understand how to use this, because don't forget, as Mars goes into the sign of Leo, he's going to eyeball Pluto in Aquarius. And he did do that around January 3rd. So there's this real crucible, this crunchy energy as we first experience this transit. One of the things I love about Mars is he's always got a pair of scissors in his hand, or a scalpel, or a sword, or a chainsaw. But you know that old expression, probably you don't, but the student says to the Zen master carver who carves animals from jade, he says, "Master, how do you carve the perfect elephant every time from that block of jade?" And the Zen master carver says, "I simply carve away all that is not elephant." And I think that's exactly Mars. When he does anything, he's actually like cut the gangrene limb, prune the tree from the dead wood, cut away from our lives, because Mars separates, whereas Venus unites. Separate away, cut away what we no longer need. So let's get talking about what this looks like in your sky. Before we do, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, because it does help the channel grow. And that helps my channel thrive, and I put more content out. And if you want to know where else you can find me, I'm on Substack with the Pluto Chronicles. I have Zoom meetings up to 3 a month, and you get a couple free courses when you join my community over there. I've been making some tier changes coming up in May, June, but for now you can still join at whatever tiers I have. But we may be letting go of a tier and adding a new one. But nonetheless, come join me on Patreon. And I may be starting a membership community here as well in the month of May on YouTube. Lots of changes coming. I'm looking forward to sharing those with you. So stay tuned for that. Okay, guys, this has been a busy day for me. I'm recording a back-to-back video after my first one I just did. I'm going to try my best to keep this video to no longer than 75 minutes. I'm crossing my fingers I can do it, but it's such an important time. This is taking us back to 1977 and 78, when we had a long duration transit of Mars moving through the sign of Cancer and Leo. And in fact, back in 1977, 78, Mars did something very similar. It was like this time around, it was like September, October, he was moving through the sign of Cancer. And back in 77, same thing. In the fall, September, October, he was moving through the sign of Cancer. And then in November of 77, like in November of 2024, he moved into the sign of Leo, which is normal. That's the next sign. But then he decided to retrograde in December and go backwards. He went retrograde on the 6th degree of Leo, just so you know. That's the degree of the retrogradation. Now, in my Canadian politics here in Canada, that's a station retrograde on the Jupiter that belongs to Pierre Poilievre, the guy that's running against Mark Carney for the leadership of Canada. And so that's an auspicious signal for for Poilievre. And that's auspicious or positive for him because, well, Jupiter is the great benefic. Mars and Jupiter together are doubly powerful when it comes to like leader. It's almost like military leader energy, commander in chief. And Jupiter Mars will be together when we get to this May 18th ingress or movement of Mars into the sign of Leo. And Mars will cross over the 6th degree mark of Leo before the April 28th election in Canada, or as it happens. And that does bestow a very strong blessing upon the candidate, Pierre Poilievre. That's quite important. And because it retrograded over his Mars already back in the past, back in station retrograde on December the 6th, a clue to what this might mean is to go back and look at what was happening around December the 6th for Pierre Poilievre. And I'm going to do that for a very short touchdown. Also, if you want to go back to Donald Trump, because he's a Leo rising, and you want to say, and so does JD Vance, a Leo rising, but let's go to Trump. What was happening for Donald Trump around December the 6th when the station retrograde happened at 6 degrees of Leo as Mars got ready to rethink something, right? Going forward in November, pausing in December 6th, rethinking it. There's something going on here with this Mars going back to Leo that also takes us very much back to the election itself of Donald Trump. And so, many ways we have themes from the past that are coming back for revision. So what happened in also the life of Donald Trump back in fall of 77 through until April to June of 78, when Mars went through Leo during that time, and also, of course, back in Cancer. So I'm going to touch down just a brief conversation. I'm not going to pull charts. I'm just going to tell you what I think those things are about. Then we're going to do your sign. Already, I know that if I do too much of the front end on the world stuff, I know you guys love it, but honestly, you got to be in the back end and see the algorithm. So if I put out a political content video on astrology, it's like this: do, down, down, down. I watch all these people unsubscribe and then slowly back up. But then the time the video gets like nowhere in the algorithm, and this channel only grows with subscriptions. I should just go ahead and do Pam Gregory. Like I do all signs. Why don't I just talk in general about the sky, or Steve Judd? I put a lot of work into these all signs. But like seriously, at the end of the day, I'm getting spanked by YouTube, where you guys are unsubscribing en masse every time I talk politics and astrology. Obviously, it's not rewarding me, right? So I'm going to stop doing it. But I will give you the Trump story and the Pierre Poilievre story regarding Mars in Leo, how it benefits Poilievre. I don't know about Trump. I'm going to go back and say, what was Trump doing in 77, 78? Because this is kind of a recap of that time in some ways. So Pierre Poilievre benefited in December from Chrystia Freeland resigning from her post on December 16th in a big huff, and then Justin Trudeau saying he would step away as leader of the country, and he announced that on January 6th. January 6th was the day that Mars left Leo and sliced into Cancer, that transition boundary. And December 16th is a mere 10 days after Mars station retrograde. So the things that were going on in the politics then of Canada, where the doors that opened that allowed Pierre Poilievre to run for election, because until Trudeau actually resigned and someone else still stepped in, and then they called the election after the leadership race, all of this was down the pipeline and may have been happening in the October of 2025, when the next election had to be called. So it kind of forced the hand. It kind of caused this whole thing to get into motion. It had to be happening. So it benefited Pierre Poilievre in some ways, what was happening with Mars as he went into Leo and then retrograded in Leo, because it started the whole election possibility. But it also has been challenging because the election was Pierre Poilievre against Trudeau. And it's sort of like when you had Biden against Trump, right? There's been a swapping out of partners who's running against too. And it actually was a slam dunk for the Conservative Party to win a majority government because everyone had so much distaste and dislike for Trudeau. Even long-term liberal supporters were ready to abandon ship. And then there was a chance, like, it's a honeymoon period. Can we give this carny guy a chance? And honestly, the honeymoon's wearing thin. You guys know what I'm talking about. And it's wearing thinner and thinner, and the gap is starting to close again between the Conservatives and the Liberals. So we shall see if this is good or bad. To see that on the energetic of the return of Mars to the Jupiter that belongs to Pierre Poilievre, which happened around December the 6th, and it's coming back again, how this serves him or not. Just as a general principle, Mars, Jupiter together are strong and can lead to a win for somebody who's in a political field. And I believe his Jupiter's in his second house natally. I think he's a Cancer rising based on my rectification. And second house flows to his Aries midheaven, which allows for a career success. Enough done. Donald Trump. 1977, 1978. What was that man up to? Well, good old Trump. So what he did do in 1978, coming off of the Mars in Leo, was his first stroke of fame. It's when he first got to be well known, and he did it because of a hotel renovation. And it was a big, big deal back then. So I'm glad I did the research, because I'm also figuring out what he did December 6th. And we're going to see themes that are similar to 1978 and themes that are similar to December 6th. But in 1978, he became well known. In June of 1978, he basically unveiled the hotel that made his first name for himself, a first big deal in Manhattan. So this is the big deal. There's his photo. And basically, in June of 78, Hugh Carey points to an artist's conception of the New York Hyatt Hotel, the building that helped Trump make a name for himself in his first big deal in Manhattan. Okay. So this is where he broke out and went from nobody to somebody by a renovation and a big deal hotel. See, he's got a whole narrative about walking by the Commodore Hotel near Penn City and wanting to renovate it and restore it to its former glory. And all that was happening in 1978, just during the same time that Mars had been going through the sign of Leo. So there's kind of his first big splash into the media. What happened to the hotel? Yes, it made him a big deal. What happened in December 6th is interesting. He went on a speech on December 6th and slammed Mexico and Canada. And basically, according to the article I looked up, it was a big deal about the tariffs, right? It was also December 6th, the same time the guy from United Healthcare was shot on the streets of Manhattan, the CEO. And that story could come back to our news cycle also in the month of, during Mars's transit through Leo in the late month, part of the month of April. So what he did do was he belittled the leaders of the United States, Mexico and Canada at a Fox Awards ceremony intended to celebrate his role as America's greatest patriot. So basically 2 weeks after threatening these two countries with tariffs to 25% on their imports for failing to prevent drugs and migrants from crossing the border, President-elect took evident pleasure in an audience chant that taunted Canada as the 51st state. The chant of 51 came at Thursday night's Fox Nation's Patriot of the Year ceremony. All right. Now, it was the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. It was back in the day around December 6th, where he was taunting Canada and Mexico, and he was talking about the 25% tariffs, and he was also calling Canada, by the way, the 51st state. So it's this provocational energy. Mars is provocation and aggression. It's crossing through the house of his ascendant, where he already has a provocational, aggressive Mars ascendant combination, and it just reactivates that. But it's also bold and daring and striking out, like renovating the Commodore Hotel and near Penn Station and becoming his first major real estate thing that brought him fame back in 1978. So we're getting him in the limelight, being controversial, and being bombastic and being aggressive. So we can look for the very thing that may allow for Pierre Poilievre to do well as we approach the election at the end of April. Mars going over his Jupiter in the sign of Leo can also return Trump to some of this big, splashy, cringy, intense headlines around things to do with tariffs, Canada, Mexico, the 51st state. Now, it's going to be interesting because who's going to win our election? Because this is going to overlap for Donald Trump with, at the end of the day, as the election is coming into fruition on the 28th of April, that's when Mars will be roughly at 6 degrees of Leo. And that could coronate Mark Carney. And that just takes us back to when Trump was calling Canada the 51st state, December 6th. Who was in power? It was Trudeau. And Trudeau basically had to fall away from power, like, lost his power mojo when Chrystia Freeland resigned in December. And then Trudeau resigned in January. So it's really connecting Trump to themes of politics in Canada and Mexico and who's in power, because he had just had Mar-a-Lago time with Trudeau after he decided to call him the governor and the 51st state. And so who's he going to be having Mar-a-Lago meetings with? So for Trump, it's just, is it Carney or is it Poilievre? All right, so let's go ahead and do your sign and I'll show you the sky. Don't forget, this is general bell curve astrology, but I'm going to give you the lay of the land, how you can use this energy and flow in a harmony with it and understand the deeper meaning of this 2-month stay of Mars moving through Leo in your one of 12 pie slices of your chart. Please use whole sign houses. Placidus won't work. And if you don't know how to cast your chart in the ancient tradition of whole sign houses, then you can go into my description box, how to cast your chart in whole sign houses and why, free video tutorial. Click on that, download it, go get it, and access that teaching. But also you'll know how to cast your chart and find your rising sign as well, if you don't know that as well. And your rising sign is based on your birth time. You'll need that. And it is delineating the part of the chart that is your character in the game of life. If this is a simulation, that's your avatar. If this is a movie, that's the role you're playing. The sun is the actor, the sun is the game player, but it also describes career, it also describes purpose matters. Moon can be how you feel emotionally about events unfolding in your life. Moon can also represent things to do with your home. But listen for all three, understand over time which works best for you. And remember, it's general bell curve, central tendency astrology. It's not a private reading, but it's good enough to give you the lay of the land. And a lot of people actually live their life by general astrology, and it does work out, but it's always going to be people for whom this does not resonate. And if assuming your birth time isn't wrong, because some of you will have a wrong birth time, then all I can say is you're one of the outliers. Let's go ahead and start the all signs portion. All righty. Where'd the chart go? Okay. So number one, let me get myself all lined up here. We're going to start off with Aries, and we're going to move ourselves to the ingress moment as well. So let's get into Aries mode. Okay, that's Aries on the eastern horizon line. And we're also going to talk about Mars moving across this boundary and jumping its little bum over here. Kaboom. Sorry, it's going to spin. The wheel's going to spin. I didn't pin it. Can we handle the spinning wheel? Hang on. No, let me just put it on. There we go. Okay, there's Mars at 0 degrees, basically, of Leo on April the 18th, roughly at 7:30 in Vancouver or Vanderhoof, Canada, wherever that is. It doesn't matter. We're still in Canada. And so ultimately saying that most of us will feel this is a thing that happens on April the 18th, maybe some people April the 17th, but Mars will be moving into the sign of Leo. And around 6 degrees, as we go forward, let me just show you. Let me just do this. Ooh, shoot. Hang on. I will show you Pierre Poilievre's chart on the Mars story, because this is a story that I don't need his birth time. Okay, his Jupiter Mars combination is strong, whether it's his birth time or not. And let's make sure I have the right chart. Yes. So I think his ascendant is in Cancer around 27 degrees, but let's not even worry about that. I want to show you the Jupiter narrative. Where is this Jupiter? Right there, 5 degrees of Leo. And so when you think about it that way, and I put the real-time sky on the outside, of the chart, real-time sky, there's Mars crossing over. There's Pierre Poilievre's Jupiter. Mars is going to trundle forward. We have an election on April 28th. And now you can see that we have that conjunction activated, literally almost 6 degrees. And that's going to be very, very important, because that's coming in to the election aftermath. The election is on the 28th, right here, 4 degrees and 36 minutes, 5 degrees and 39 minutes, is within an orb of a conjunction. There's a possibility, from my humble opinion, that there's a minority government won by the conservatives, but there's going to be one of those postponements of ballot countings in a riding, or a riding is like, an electoral energy, like one of the electoral college energies. So they have to recount or count, because I keep seeing in all charts a possibility of that, some kind of kerfuffle. But anyway, Mars will cross his Jupiter. And so that's a very powerful energy going on in the sky for him on the day of the actual election. Some of you know we have and you can see other things going on, that transiting Jupiter has crossed his sun and Mercury and is an orb of his Mercury. Again, another positive indication for probable success. Maybe not a full win. Jupiter is in the sign of his detriment. So it's like, rather than have a majority, it's a minority win, but any win is better than no win, right? So, I mean, if you're a politician, that's what you're going to say. Any win is better than no win, and you'll be pleased with that. And he's going to experience as well the energy. And the energy of this is not even worrying about his rising sign in his midheaven, just looking at planetary alignment. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, what is the alignment for the election itself? So one of the things that is interesting is that Venus is about to fall into his Aries 10th house, if that's true, if his chart is right. Whereas for Mark Carney, post-election, this is the cliff of into the 12th house, which is not a good house for a politician. So it could literally look like a downfall. And if this would be an upfall for Pierre Poilievre, moving up into the house of celebrity and career and reputation matters, up where his midheaven would be. And anything else I want to say on the general on this? Because I mean, I know a lot of you don't care about this politics, right? So he's having a half nodal return in the middle of that. That's always a very powerful life turning point. It has great pivot energy for the native. He is the native. So we got that kind of story going on in our real-time sky. And Mark Carney has a hurling race from Mars and a malefic enclosure of his sun through until Mars's leave taking of Cancer. So as I record this, through till whatever the date is today, I have no idea. I'm recording this on April the 9th through to about the 16th. There's a lot of turbulence in the chart of Mark Carney for his sun, which is his purpose and career. And finally, a lot of you know we have a debate on the 17th. It's like the major debate for our candidates. And so a lot of what goes on that day can really define the direction of the election when people hear the two candidates debating together rather than news stories about them. And if you look at like what happened to Joe Biden, right, during his debate with Trump. So debates can be very incredibly powerful turning points in elections. And this is the April 17th energy. The debate is at 7 p.m. It doesn't really matter so much to get it perfect. I just want you to see what's going on in the main sky relative to this particular candidate, Pierre Poilievre's chart, on the day of the debate. And whether it looks like a challenging situation or a positive one is to be, munched upon. But you'll notice that on the day of a debate, right? Let's munch away on this. What do you think it means when Jupiter and Mercury are like this in a conjunction? Wait. Oh, sorry. I got tech issues right here. This is positive. This is debating, right? This is speaking. It's a Mercury in dignity. Jupiter amplifies the power of speech, the power of debate, the power of one versus one. In Sun, career matters for Pierre Poilievre, not knowing for sure that this is his 12th house, but I think it is because his dad came out of the closet as gay. And there's other reasons the rest of the chart matches with mom in the third. And, having the moon in the house of his joy, he was a bit of what do you call it? Not just a debater in high school and stuff like that, but he also was a journalist and worked in, magazines and newspapers early on a little bit. So there's this energy of, that's a house in which you find the media and the journalistic impulse as well. But you can notice that this is just singularly positive for the actual day of the debate. All things aside, he could like slam the debate and be the winner of the debate and still not be the prime minister. So there's some election interference that's been uncovered by CSIS, our intelligence agency, with the Chinese Communist Party pushing agendas in certain liberal ridings by influencing on WeChat. The majority of the population in these ridings is Chinese, mainland China. So there's a lot going on where some of the vote that may be coming in for Carney is also highly influenced by China. That's not a conspiracy. Our intelligence agency ran a whole briefing on it in front of the press. So I'm just telling you, it's not like me conspiracying out. That's a real story, guys. That's not me making it up. Having the moon, which can represent the people, we the people, on Neptune, the glamour, he could be very much received in a kind of a glamour on the day of the debate. And Carney doesn't look nearly as good. It looks pretty gnarly. And I'll do another video on Carney separate as we get closer to the debate and compare and contrast what I'm seeing here. But this could give a superior charm offensive advantage to Mark Carney to sway votes during that debate. End of story. Let's go ahead. Back to your sign. Okay, clear the drawings. Goodbye. And let's roll. All right, we're not going to start with Leo. Sorry, we're going to not start with Leo. We're going to start with Aries, just to be simple. Not to confuse anybody coming into the premiere who doesn't know where we are. If we start at Pisces, they'll think we're at the end of the whole thing, right? Give me a minute. This is what happens when you try to get the essential times up. Aries, sun, moon, and rising. So wow. I want you to think back to like September and October. Well, you had the planet Mars traveling through your part of your sky that was Cancer. And that was like, oh yes, that's like, things I need to get done in my Cancer sky, the decisions I need to make in my Cancer sky. This is to do with your home, where you live, property, land, and real estate. That's what you were thinking in September, October, or you're thinking about mom, or thinking about your homeland or your childhood, or you're trying to figure out what to do there, or maybe conflict and tension in the home, even fighting with people you live with, domestic squabbles. But then Mars left that part of the chart and entered into your fifth house. And he was there from around November the 3rd until January the 6th with a retrograde at December 6th. So it's like you went in, you got about 6 degrees in, you changed your mind, and you thought, oh my God, there's something I need to do back here in the fourth house before I make decisions in the fifth. Well, let me tell you what that could be. Because you've been having a lot of the Cancer story going on here now, retrograding backwards, January to February 23rd, and then Mars going forward in your fourth house, you had a feeling you might want to change your home or change situations in your home, or your domestic home had to change. Mars cuts and severs. Cut from your home, be cut from your home. I'm an Aries sun and moon. My landlord gave me notice. I thought she was going to give me notice, by the way. I wasn't unexpecting that she was going to sell the house. But it was funny because I remember, for example, how I was feeling back in September, October about the potential need for me to find a new home. And then it was off the table, November, December, but then January, as Mars went back into the part of the sky that represents Cancer, my landlord within a couple months gave notice when Mars went direct. So you might have had a pending feeling in September, October. You need to make some changes in your home, or about your home, or who you live with in your home, or what you do in the home, or how hard you work at home, or something like that. And then it was off the table because both basically November and December, all of a sudden you were focused on your fifth house, which is your romantic partner, your children, your entrepreneurial business, your creative projects, occupying your mind, your time, your attention, your thoughts, November and December. And you may have been thinking of cutting away from a child. Like maybe you don't have to cut the child out of your life. Maybe just decouple a bit. That, maybe your adult children are taking too much attention. Maybe your child's having conflict and temper tantrums. Maybe you had to rethink things to do with creative and entrepreneurial projects. Maybe you were rethinking your decisions and actions you wanted to take in a sexual and romantic relationship as Mars was moving through that fifth house, November and December. But then he was back in the fourth house again, January, February, March, mid-April. Like, hello. Will this story ever end? So that's back and forth, back and forth. Now, here we go. What kinds of thoughts, decisions, and actions and directions do you think you need to make creatively, entrepreneurially, and romantically? And in regards to children, that you now have to go ahead and make those decisions and actions between April the 18th and June the 19th. And as Mars comes into this fifth house, he will oppose Pluto. And he did that already once before in around January 3rd. So it's the second, third of January. It's back again. Mars opposite Pluto. You might want to go back and track your life around that time in January. Was there a blowout with romantic partners, children, friends, allies, benefactors, social groups, social circles? What kind of tension was here? Otherwise, Mars and Pluto can be like unstoppable willpower and dynamic drive. This would have been unstoppable willpower, dynamic drive in January around creative projects or business projects or entrepreneurial projects or something like that. But whatever it is, it's back again. And in essence, even without the Pluto story, the gist of it here, and I have an article in my Pluto Chronicles at Substack about this opposition, and I think it's a free article, so I'll post it for all signs to the top of the description box. But I would say that with Mars going forward here now for 2 months, you're ready to move forward. Is it time to write that book, start that creative project, launch your entrepreneurial business, get all romantic and passionate in a sexual and romantic love affair? Or conversely, is it time to cut, end, and sever away from a relationship, away from one of your children that's taking too much of your time? There's a lot about how Mars might want to cut away rather than all that is not elephant, add something, right? Also, you might notice as well that Mars, as he moves through the sign of Leo, right? This is a sign that belongs to the sun. And as he ingresses into Leo, he is able to witness the sun in exaltation. I know the sun is moving into Taurus next. I understand that. But what matters is the moment of the ingress. The sun is at 20 degrees of Aries. And therefore, this is also saying an exalted sun is giving Mars instructions. This is something to say that over the course of these 2 months, Aries, it's all about you. You are making these action plans to cut and sever or change direction in fifth house matters from the place of your own inner healing of some chironic wound of your selfhood that you've been dealing with since 2013. Your appearance, your sense of self, your sense of character, Aries sun, your career, Aries moon, your home and nest, woundedness since 2019 when Chiron entered here. I can definitely speak to a lot of that. And, you are the exalted sun energetic here, looking at what Mars is up to and making some suggestions. At the ingress, when something begins, everything happens. And you will notice that we also have, upon the ingress, Mars talking to Mercury in a trine. There's something very beautiful if you want to start creative projects that have to do with communicating or writing or messaging. Also, conversations will flow and help heal you when it comes to interactions with your children or your lover or romantic partner in this time frame, especially not just in the beginning, although it will be very obvious to you, April 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, but also baking in a signature around the Mercury part of the chart. Mercury, Neptune flowing to Mars, Mercury, Neptune, hello. Imagination, vision, visionary communication that's pioneering, bold, assertive, to do with creative projects, entrepreneurial businesses, and romantic partners and your children. So this is flowing, this is powerful, and this is positive, no matter what Mars is doing here. And it may be you being more passionate about creativity, more passionate about pursuing joy, more passionate about the things that give you pleasure in life. Whatever it is, you're like gung-ho now. You know which direction to go in. Yes, there is a hurdle opposing Pluto, most active in the 26th, 27th of April. Jump over the hurdle, get through it. It's only a short little blimp in a longer yay you story. That's what I'm saying. It's a yay you story. Eventually Mars will come into contact with Uranus near the end of this journey. And that's going to put you in a situation in the month of June where you might have some exciting, unexpected, and surprising financial positive developments of some sort that require actions and decisions to be made, because there is tension in a square in June between Mars and Uranus. But it could also indicate something to do with unexpected urgency around financial matters and fifth house matters. Maybe with Mars is also, by the way, the ruler of your 10th house of, the Mars is also the ruler of you, but Mars is also the ruler of 8th house chunky money. Some of you may be making some decisions to make changes in your career connected to income earning strategies, taxes, tax strategies, etc. I'm expecting a tax rebate for my taxes. Hallelujah. So even just having a sudden surprising tax rebate wouldn't surprise me as I move into this story and see what's going on here with Mars and Uranus in the month of June. It'll take that long for the Canadian government to process a tax rebate. Okay. There's a lot of junk in the sky with asteroids, but just ignore them, guys. I'm going to leave the sky as it is. Now, as we look at Mars moving for you, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign, and he's headed into your fourth house, this is the house of your home and property, land and real estate. Did you think maybe you wanted to move or change some situations in your home back in the day, back in November, December, while he was traveling through your fourth house? And maybe around December 6th, you realized you weren't ready yet and had to rethink it. And you had to go back to the third house of siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, neighbors, and neighborhood to reassess the situation. Were you ready to make some cutting away in the home? Were you ready to denest a kid? Were you ready to change your property, travel away from home to far off shores, maybe? Lots of things you might have wanted to do in November, December, but it didn't get done or happen. I have a Taurus son daughter, right? And I can reflect some stuff in her life at the time that makes sense because she did change her home, right? She did actually move to a new apartment in the November timeframe, November, December. And that's what that Mars was doing then. But now that he's back again, there's more changes. Are you going to change something in your home, from your home, about your home? Are you going to move again? Are you going to build something in the home? Now, the way this ingress is looking, Mars is hooking up very nicely to the whole energy of ruled by an exalted sun in the 12th house, chatting with Mercury and Neptune. And it's a nice vibe for healing a family systems addiction pattern. Great grandpa, Smith was a, superior alcoholic, and I might have come through my line, and I need to deal with it. Or my dad or my granddad was a ne'er-do-well and lost all the family fortunes, and I got to break that pattern. Something here is really useful for you to investigate the way you grew up, especially father figure, chironic imprints around father, and how these male figures up your family line may have informed you around a pattern around self-sabotage, addiction, self-undoing. And you begin to see that and more clearly can break away from it, as you may have also perceived the same things in November and December, and began to find solutions for those situations that ailed you, that could hold you back in life. On a practical note, if you're thinking of selling a property, moving or cutting away from a property, then the stellium in the 12th house could indicate also you would want to move to a foreign shore or a distant land, the other half of your country, another state, a far off place, or you might find a buyer from one of those places as well. Or you might just want to travel more extensively to a distant shore. Now, if I live in California, New York City is a distant shore, so it doesn't have to be another country, just far from where you are, some urge to get out of Dodge, to break free and go somewhere new. That's what this can look like. You're also going to see here that we have this energy of a chironic wound in your dynamic of family of origin and self-undoing. And some of this is also past lives. Well, you've been working on that since 2019, trying to pry open the lid, see what you're doing that undoes yourself, and stop doing it. So this is going to be a very nice energy for really, by taking actions and making decisions regarding homeland, property, real estate, and cutting away the cords of childhood stuff and father figure stuff in your childhood and family stories and ancestors, you're really going to move forward, not just to a new home. A new home could indicate a new you. A change of direction or travel abroad could indicate a new version of how you want to show up in the world by virtue of Mars traveling through your fourth house. Mars is the ruler of your seventh house of legal contracts and significant long-term committed love stories. And some of you may see that this energy is also involving a significant other as you make these decisions about where you want to go and what you want to do in terms of where you want to live or how you want to travel away from the home. This can be very expat signature. And this energy is very familiar if you were alive in 1977, September through to June of 1978, as we saw similar Mars in Cancer, Mars in the fourth house, back and forth energy. As Mars approaches June, and he'll be in this until mid-June, he'll be in June 17th, he'll be in Leo. He's also going to start hooking up in June to a beautiful kind of, I would say exciting, exhilarating, and decision and action intensity in June. It's very, essence or get off the pot energetically around matters to do with breaking free, breaking through your own self-restricted limitations and cutting away from those addictions, self-undoing, and maybe even changing where you live. All of this is possible in this kind of a sky. He does have a nice little sextile, of course, to Jupiter. This is good for your finances. That's going to happen on about the halfway mark of this journey, and I'll be covering that in my week ahead astrology when we get to it. But as Mars will move into Leo, he will end up sextiling Jupiter as we move through the month of May. And then that looks like you could have some financial positive developments in the month of May connected to property, land, home, real estate, and financial well-being. Selling a property, buying a property, getting money from an inheritance from a father figure. All these things are possible in the month of May. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'll be covering this transit in greater detail, to say the very least, as time progresses, as we get closer to the actual events I'm discussing generally. Well, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a story where you've got this energetic movement here of Mars in your third house. He was here, yes, already, November, December. On December 6th, he thought he wasn't ready to make the actions and decisions yet, fully commit. He wasn't ready to fully commit to what he wants to accomplish here. And now he's back, April 18th to June 17th, to get it done. Do you want to make some changes to your neighborhood? Do you want to live in a different neighborhood? I'm laughing. I'm a progressed Gemini sun. My landlord gave notice. I've been yearning to walk out my door and step on grass, get out of a high rise. Yes, I'm yearning to change my neighborhood in Vancouver or in British Columbia. So you could say that now I'm ready to do it, but I was thinking about it already. Yes, in November and December. Are you ready to make some changes in your relationship to your siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins? Are you ready to enact some travel plans that you didn't get off the ground in November, December, but now you can actually execute them, get them going, make the plans, and take those trips mid-April to mid-June? Is there writing projects you wanted to get going and get started on, like my book proposal on astrology for my agent, but you couldn't get your mojo going in November, December, and you had to go back and deal with second house money matters because that's where you've been January, February, March, April, money, money, money. But now you can go forward on writing, social media, teaching, learning, traveling, and things that are going to also be more aligned with something that you wanted to do in November, December, but now you can do it fully committed and on track. Because you're also being dominated by a connection to a stellium here in Aries on the ingress, it bakes in the energy for 2 months. First of all, an exalted sun going through a chironic healing in the 11th house of what you desire, your long range dreams and goals, what you tell your fiery godfather you really wanted, what you want to see accomplished in your lifetime, your longer forecast plans of your life. And I think with the exalted sun and chironic healing, your woundedness is becoming less and less of a problem. Maybe you're also making changes here because of the Mars direct in the social groups that you inhabit locally, and decisions will be made to find new social circles. As someone who lives in Vancouver, Canada, I know a few astrologers now that I'd like to really get to know a lot more, who are local and have a community of astrology people in my life. And so that's another example of how I would like a new kind of social group in my local environment. Mars is third house local, and the social groups are in the 11th. A new strategy on social media as well as possible for social media beasts here as well. With the energy of Mercury and Neptune in a nice tight trine, it's spiritual warrior on steroids. But yes, what do you have to communicate to groups of people that is inspiring, motivational, visionary energy that supports people to independence, freedom, and what is the word, like I want, like cutting edge directions in reality? You may be looking at a new energy in your own life as well, that you could say, when I make money from my career, I want it to be infused with something more magical, more spiritually aligned, more woo, including your writing projects, because we write things in that third house as well. Yes, we do. And Jupiter will be sextiling Mars in the month of May, and that could literally look like some really nice lucky breaks coming through in the month of May that connect you to matters to do with travel and a sense of joyful abundance and enjoyment in life. There's that broad flow of a sextile energies there for 2 months, but it gets a little bit more aligned in the month of May. I want to mention that Mars is going to also be talking to Uranus in June in such a way that you'll be driven to make some decisions in a kind of a urgent or hasty or definitive way about foreign travel, foreign lands, foreign shores, or about how you use money from foreign distant marketplaces and shores of the 12th house, including digital income and borderless revenue, or anything to do with foreign places and distant lands. Now, Mars is the guy who likes to travel in the third house, but he can also move you. Often Mars in the third, fourth, or fifth, depends on where your floating IC is, can look like a relocation. It could be very well then that some of you in the month of June are changing your home or making major decisions around where you want to have your home. And there's a sense of urgency around that. But also maybe surprises as well, unexpected opportunities regarding your home and where to park your ass in the month of June. That's what I've got for you. Let's keep on keeping on. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. It looks to me like Mars is heading direct. And as he heads direct, you're going to see that you're going to have an opportunity here for a kind of directional shift in your way you make money. Like you have thought about this before. Yeah, 77, 78, sure. But you thought about this in, November, December. You might have wanted to make decisions that would be about becoming a self-starter, more entrepreneurial, about things to do with your spending or your finances and your savings, things to do with your financial situation in your life. Big things going on for you, November, December. About December 6th, Mars turned around. You weren't ready to go for it yet. You didn't know what you really wanted. Then Mars has been with you in your sign, and you've been trying to get your decisive, action-taking, hot, blistering, water dog paddling self into motion. The water's been hot. Some of you might have felt like a frog in boiling water January, February, March, because that's the temperature goes up in the watery pond of you. And you've got to take action and make decisions. You got to get out of that pot. You've got a sword in your hand. It's sharp, but it's also a water pistol. What are you going to do, guys? Cancers, you have cardinality. You know how to take the leap. You know how to make decisions when you need to. Mars has been very fiercely emotional, and you've been emotional about things since he got into your first house, even about your children, because he's the ruler of your fifth house. But now, more clear-eyed, more solar ruled, he's entering into April 18th to mid-June, your second house. And he is in a very nice alignment with that Mercury-Neptune energy at the top of your sky in your 10th house. Now you know the direction to go clearly regarding matters to do with career and reputation, and what you wish to arrange for success in that part of your chart, so that you not only succeed financially, but also you would feel like I healed a chironic wound about my work and purpose, because you've been dealing with that since 2019. And the exalted sun is guiding Mars for you to have an exaltation energy of your career, where you can reach to the top of your sky without the wounds. But Neptune wants the mystical and the magical and the visionary, and Mercury just says, what information, what kind of contracts or news are you ready to engage? It could be a new job. It could be changing the way you do the job you already have. You got 2 months to figure it out as Mars moves through your second house. Mars will talk to Jupiter in May in such a way that it can bring some really great blessings from far off lands and distant shores, or the indication of prosperity from borderless income and digital revenue and far off marketplaces in a positive way, because you're working hard, you're a self-starter, you got your mojo, you know what you want. However, also Uranus gets into the mix in June, and now you've got some unexpected or surprising decisions you need to make, being brought on by a sibling one older, being brought on by allies, benefactors, being brought on by situations to do with the gains of your career. And now you have to make some decisions that are primarily monetary, and they're rather unexpected. They could be very positive. and you're ready to make those decisions in the month of June. Now, Mars is the ruler of your 10th house. So you're ready to go, right? You're all systems go. You are super juiced up. And the sun is in that beautiful mutual reception, which I didn't describe it earlier, but I should have. So the sun is basically saying, just by signage, Mars, I've got your back, and Mars has got the sun's back. So this is such a nice dynamic energy between houses 10 and 2. So you're making some major positive changes the next 2 months from mid-April on your career path regarding your money. That's as simple as that. Gotta love it. If there's a surprise coming from an ally, benefactor, friend, or elder sibling, it's going to benefit you. Okay. With this kind of sky, it's something to do with your money and some decisions you'll need to make probably in the month of May. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So I think for you, it's a kind of sky where you can't really compare it. 1977, 78, in the intro, I explained the parallels here. But without going back in time that far, which I keep telling people to do, you are the one getting ready to grab the chainsaw. Okay. And you try to put that chainsaw or that cutter, snipper, scalpel thing in your hand. You tried to grab a hold of it in November. And you tried to keep hold of it, and then December 6th, it slipped out of your hands, and you realize you had to go back to the 12th house. So if you're thinking backwards to November into all of December, you reneged or rethought or paused perhaps on a choice, decision, or action to cut, end, and sever where you live, who you're with relationship-wise, what your career path is, what your spiritual path is, your relationship to sexuality, romance, and children, anything, because you hold the first house for the rising Leos is the helm of the chart. For the sun, it's decisions about career, moon about your home, Leo moons. But now for your Leo risings, is any part of your life where you were ready to make a major change, but then you had to rethink it. So, November, I'm ready to go. Oh, December 6th, I'm going back and rethinking. You went all the way back into Cancer, where Mars has been for, January, February, March, and April. You went all the way back to rethink some things at a deep soul level. Yes, in your quietude, solitude, lonely hours, when you go back into your childhood, into the family line, into your past lives, where you go into the inner jail, the jail keeper, the ashram, the convent or something. You're just gone inward to understand what it is you need to do and what changes you should be making in your life. But with Mars back again, and this is very rare, the potency he has now is really deep. It goes back to 77, 78. What kind of decisions could you have been making then in a parallel time frame? Because now you're ready to go for it. So, any changes you make that have to do with cutting, snipping, severing, and ending are going to be very permanent. So be careful where you aim your scissors. So don't cut the partner out of your life unless you're sure you want them to go. Do not disassociate from your children unless you're sure, like in a mean way, that's what you really want. Don't quit your career unless you're sure that's what you really want. Now, as Mars goes through the first house, he also can heat you up. So be careful. He'll be here for 2 months, and that is classic fevers, rashes, inflammation, stress, maybe even an injury. Be careful not to burn yourself, fire, right? Leo, fire. That's all very possible. Just like a small burn, let's not get stressed out about it, right? But just be careful. Don't, wield your cooking spatula carefully. Don't pull a pan out without a oven mitt. Now, I think that with Jupiter in a kind of a gentle vibration of sextile, especially as we get towards May and you move through the month of May, you're going to kind of feel maybe more like now there's some lucky energy coming from the house of the sibling one older, some prosperity coming through your career gains, and you're feeling excited and dynamic, some lucky breaks coming through friends and benefactors for you that you can take action on in the month of May. And then when we move forward and we're getting into June, right before the mid-June endpoint, we begin to see the activation of Mars and Uranus. And Uranus is like unexpected, exhilarating, maybe surprising change in the career space connected to you making decisions. I can't tell you what those sudden unexpected surprises are. They could be prosperous because Uranus is still pretty close to that Algol, which can be a wealth star, but it's also decapitation. And your boss may, get fired. You may quit. You may quit yourself from a job. Something to do with career and work may change dramatically in the month of June for you. So keep that in mind as well. You're making the decisions and taking the actions. For most part, it's not happening to you. It's happening because of your own decisions, your own agency. And because we have a stellium in the ninth house, you're aligning with your dharma. You've been trying to find since 2019 the right educational path, the right schooling for your vocation, the right meaning in life, the right relationship to father figures, the right relationship to a spiritual belief system. And now you'll notice that Mars is all flowing to that stellium and kind of bakes in the idea of you really sort of stepping into a more aligned place in your life where you can feel a deep spiritual union with purpose and meaning in your life and begin to have new ideas coming to you, Mercury, but also communications. If you have, you might get a what do you call it? A coach, a guide, a mentor, or a teacher coming to you to help align you with the right direction for you as you look at the 2 months of Mars coming through the sign of Leo through to mid-June. Woo, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Wow. First of all, I've been talking a long time. I'm not kidding. It's like, whoo, let's keep on keeping on. Let me take a little sip of my concoction, kombucha. Now, first off, if you're alive in 77, 78, fall to spring to June, then you're back again. Similar vibe. Otherwise, just understand the rarity equals potency. Potency and rarity are the same. You've got Mars going through the house of addiction, self-undoing, and bad habits. Now, he was here in November, December. Did you try to quit a bad habit, quit a substance addiction kind of thing, or did you make some strides towards untangling yourself from family of origin beliefs and ancestral patterns? Did you make some strides in November and into December in regards to foreign land, shores, travel, and distant land adventures? And you may be thinking it didn't quite get off the ground, right? So my daughter's a Virgo rising. She's supposed to go see a friend in Ireland. It didn't actually manifest and she had to pull back. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Something tried to happen, didn't quite make it. Now it's back again. Time for that international or foreign travel or distant land trip. Time for the final cutting thread, severing that addictive habit and pattern, especially connected to childhood. Done, complete, over, and ended. You got 2 months. Should you choose to accept this assignment, we're almost ready. November, and then on December 6th, you change your mind, and now you're really ready to go forward. November and December are coming back for fulfillment, and you're going to find that you're ready to do the things you weren't quite sure about then. It's really good, by the way, this kind of chart for deeper investigation of who you really are at a spiritual level, because this is a moksha liberation house as well. The stellium of planets in the 8th house, Sun, Chiron, and Mercury, and all of that up here. This 8th house stellium is important. The Sun is in a reception to Mars. They're in each other's sign. The Sun is the boss of Mars. Mars is the boss of the Sun. It bakes in an energy of cooperation in your life between your 8th house and the 12th house matters. It wouldn't be too shabby for you to start studying a little bit of occult mysteries in the wake of this. But if not, money you share with a long-term relationship partner or spouse, money that comes from investments and inheritances, money that comes from passive income and chunks of money, that's your 8th house unearned income that belongs as well, or shares resources with others. That 8th house money is on fire. Something is trying to happen here. I don't know what it is, but because it's going to last more than a moment, right? It's going to be a 2-month narrative. You'll discover the vibration of what it is that wants to change in your life regarding the 8th house sorts of finances. It's the money you share with a significant other, and you've got a beautiful lineup in your 7th house. So there might be a consolidation of finances, or with Jupiter involved, it might be a purchase of a property or real estate with someone you're in a relationship with, for example. But whatever it is, it's going to be very importantly a sense of going into something that was almost true November, December, but is going to be able to form at this time. Mercury is like marketing, merchandising, and selling. And so what could you market, merchandise, and sell? Connected to foreign lands, distant shores, travel, or land property and real estate. And that could be an opportunity that goes well in the 2 months that follow Mars's direct motion in your 12th house. Now, backroom deals and negotiation, yes, but Mars is a malefic in the house of hidden enemies. The only good news is that he's not doing too much, but watch out for that opposition to Pluto in the house of disputes. I'll tell you, I'm going to do a whole video on the Mars-Pluto opposition. It's too important to leave to chance. It's going to be around the 26th of April when it's really fired up, because this can be a major problem with a lawsuit or somebody you thought was an ally, an employee, or somebody in the work environment, really backstabby. Maybe you felt a bit of that in around January the 3rd, 4th, but it's definitely something to watch out for. And this opposition between Mars and Pluto can be explosive energy. So we'll be doing a video on that. But for the most part, other than that, Mars is in a flow to Jupiter in the month of May. May has all kinds of blessings in your career by things you're doing behind the scenes, backroom deals and negotiations. And some of you could even have career changes connected to foreign people, foreign lands, or big successes in career and endeavors with somebody in a foreign country. You also might find that as you move into June, with Uranus picking up energy from Mars, there is a square that propels you in the month of June to take actions and decisions in a very kind of assertive way around teachers, guides, mentors, and education, legal and court matters, and university settings. It's like Mars needs you to get down with a decision, but it surprises because Uranus is the unexpected. Ninth house has many meanings. It could be father figures, and we will have the sun moving through Taurus, right? On the 3rd week of April to the 3rd week of May. So father figures and unexpected developments require your immediate attention, perhaps, and decisions to happen for you in the month of June. Well, the sun will be in your 10th house of career at the same time with Jupiter, at least till June 9th. It's a pretty big time for you, okay? I want you to know that. When you get to Jupiter moving out of your 10th house, yay, but there's going to be a window of time from about the 3rd week of May to June the 9th, where both Jupiter and the sun are in your 10th house. And just as a heads up, that's a great time for career success. But I bring it up because you'll still be able to ride the energy of Mars in the 12th. You are going to succeed because you stop being your own worst enemy. You stop letting yourself down from getting what it is you really desire or want to achieve in something in your. And I say desire because Mars spent 4 months in your 11th house of what do you truly desire? Right? He gave you time to figure it out. January, February, March, April, what do you truly desire? And now you can make the actions and decisions to enact what you truly desire with certitude and fortitude and strength, and fiery Mars in Leo, very commanding. Okay. Libra, I cannot believe I'm doing 2 videos back to back today. I really can't. My butt. Libra, sun, moon, and rising. Yeah. Mars is a big deal because like 1977 fall to 78 June, we're back in the same pattern. Listen to the intro to the video. Mars is moving through now, 18th of April to about 17th of June. He's moving through your 11th house of good spirit, which is where you make your long range plans and goals and dreams. It's where you get your career gains financially and reputation wise, because it's second from the 10th. It's where you have friends, benefactors, and allies. It's where you have the sibling one older than you. But if you go deeper than all of that, I mean, it is a desire house. And so in this essence of desire, what is it you truly desire in your life? And Mars is going to cut away all that is not elephant, all the desires that don't really fit or are necessary. They're literally peripheral. They're deadwood. They're draining the plant. You need to focus on do the one thing. What do you want? Do the one thing, be the one thing. What do you desire? And as Mars is going through here, he's helping you do that. Sure, some friends may cut out, and maybe some friends cut out in November and December when he was here before. Maybe you quit a friend quit you, maybe an elder sibling and you had a spat. Maybe you felt like your desires were all over the map and you were trying to wean and prune down the desire tree and you didn't know where to go. So you stopped about thinking about it and went back into Cancer, January, February, March, into April to think about your career some more. Should I stay or should I go? Should I quit this job or keep this job? What do I really want? Am I working too hard? Am I burning out? Do I have any work-life balance? These are things a lot of Libras have been pondering September, October, Mars in the 10th house. January, February, March into mid-April, Mars in the 10th house. Okay. After all that pondering, equivocation, and back and forth, if you weren't fired from your job and you didn't quit, as Mars goes to the 11th house, you're ready to refine your 10th house to align with what you truly desire and remove the rest. So go read the book, Do the One Thing. Now, as this is happening and Mars is moving through your 11th house, he's being supported by mutual reception of the sun in your 7th and a stellium. This is indicating a lot of what you're doing now can be really good for you reaching out to the marketplace and the public, the audience. This is your 7th house. It's 10th. From the 10th, it reflects the public or the outpicturing in the public eye of your career gains and goals and what you're doing in your career. So this is going to give you a glow up of influence if that's something you're seeking, and maybe from extra money from the influence. It can impact your long-term committed business and love partnerships. As Mars goes through here, some of you may have had some decisions you wanted to make in November, December around your business partnerships, around your marriage partnerships, but you weren't sure what you wanted to do. Good news is Mars is flowing in a harmonious way to the marriage and business house, indicating less likely to sever, but to strengthen and fortify those relationships. And Mercury can be a contract or a deal. Neptune can be a dream deal, connecting you to more success in your work. And I think that when we get to May and Jupiter is in a sextile to Mars during May, you might find that things to do with lucky breaks with foreign lands, travel, higher education, book publishing, pilgrimages, teaching, learning, these things get very highlighted for you in the month of May as Mars sextiles Jupiter. And later on, Mars will also, in the month of June, come into a square to Uranus. And now you have to make some critical and important decisions under a sense of maybe surprise and urgency regarding chunky money and what you desire. And the chunky money can be a commission check, a royalty check, an inheritance money. I don't know, something. It can be many things here, but you have to make decisions about them and take actions. And really the actions and decisions are asking you to be aligned more truly with what you desire. What do you want? If your homework is to write, a letter, 5-year letter from your future self to your current self, like, dear me back 5 years ago, here's what I want you to know. Because it's really about that 5-year plan, 10-year plan, and Mars is trying to refine it. And something is going to trigger a surprise. It could be a chunk of money coming through even that allows for you to make that plan more solid in the month of June. All right, Scorpio, you are ruled by Mars, as are the Aries folk. And so here's what I want you to know. You have this energy in the 10th house of Mars in a way he hasn't been in here since November and December of 77. And then again, just like now, April, May into June of 78. So there's a comparison if you're old enough. 10th house is your career, your reputation. And you have a reputation in school, right? You're the good student, you're the geek, you're the nerd, whatever. You have a reputation. So your reputation, your career, your social standing, your purpose for achievement and success, like what you want to accomplish, mountain climbing to the top. So all of that energy is where Mars is now for mid-April to mid-June. And it can be that if you think back to November, December, especially November 3rd to December 6th, you were all gung-ho to make some changes in that career space, but lo and behold, you had to retrograde on December 6th. And by January the 6th, you had gone sliding back into 9th house. But lo and behold, is it on purpose? Is it meaningful? Does it light up my soul? Does it make me feel like I'm on true north? Does it give my life meaning? And so then you had to rethink it. January, February, March into mid-April. And you need to know the truth. And you were pondering these deep questions of purpose and meaning and dharma in September, October as well, as Mars was moving in Cancer through your 9th house. So now it's time to get off the equivocation pot and make decisions and take actions. Surely some of you will quit your job in the next 2 months or have your job quit you. Surely some of you will escalate to passionate new purpose and excitement and work intensity, because you're on the right track already. And because Mars is in a flow to the Earth, the sixth house, this is very good for career work changes that are very good for you, whether you stay or whether you rise up to a new level of power in the work and career space. And you'll notice that with Mercury and Mars, that can be commercial success connected to your work. It could also be about a renegotiation of the contracts of a work situation. Chiron says heal a chironic wound you've had since 2019 about feeling like your work is meaningful, purposeful, or use of your natural talents and gifts. And you're working to support yourself to move away from that wound in the next 2 months. I noticed that Jupiter gets into the mix in a positive way in May and offers some chunky money for you to make some decisions around work and livelihood and purpose. So accept the chunky money, say thank you, Jupiter, in the month of May, and keep on your merry way. In the month of June, Uranus is going to give you some unexpected and dramatic changes, surprises, and momentum in the marriage house. Let's face it, possibly it's about children. Because of the fifth house stellium at the ingress. But if it's not the announcement that your partner's pregnant or you're having to tell your partner that, and there's nothing like that, then there's something about the month of June where critical turning point decisions are being made regarding land, home, property, real estate, domicile, where you live, and your relationship to a significant other. And the catalyst is coming from the house of the business partner or the significant other or the audience and marketplace. It's not really yours to engage in. It's coming from out there, from other people, surprises for you. Okay, the other thing would be a viral hit that escalates an intense momentum to your higher reputation in the 10th house in the month of June, right? Like all of June to mid-June, June 17th. So it could be really good for like ascending to the top of your career path because of some kind of surprise. Uranus can be a viral hit in the public or having unexpected, surprising, positive developments in how your marketplace clients and audiences receiving the work of your 10th. Good luck with that, Scorpio. I'll be diving more into each little bit. And watch out for the Pluto opposition. This could be a huge ticking time bomb. I can't cover it all here. This is really going to be something I dive into in a lot more depth in a separate video closer to the 25th of April or so. But watch out for explosive tension between your agendas in your career and someone in your home life. This could really be intense around fracturing relationship, especially one-on-one significant relationship intensity. Go back to January 3rd. Was there any blowout then with you and another cohabitating love partner, that kind of thing? Watch out for that. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. First things first, it looks to me like you are going to be making changes in your sense of what life's what's the meaning of life? You know, what's my purpose? What's my spiritual philosophy and belief? What's my true path in life? The ninth house is coming into contact with that intelligence of your true purpose and the knowledge and wisdom of aligning with that purpose and that meaning in life and the dharma of life. And, Mars is up there. He'll be here, mid-April to mid-June, but he tried to go into a dharma deep dive in the fiery part of the sky. He tried to figure it out back in November, December. And he also tried to do this 77, 78. Listen to the intro. And you're like, okay, well, I didn't know what I really wanted or what the alignment should look like. So, November 3rd to December 6th, you thought you did. And then December 6th, you turned around and said, wait a minute, I need to think some more. And you went thinking into the think tank of the eighth house. Well, the eighth house, yeah, September, October. Yes, the eighth house, Cancer zone, January, February, March to mid-April. What were you doing there with Mars? Were you cutting deeply into the most karmic house of the zodiac? Were you slicing through childhood stories and undoing the wounds there? Were you preoccupied with money issues and including conflicts with money and children, money and lovers? Were you preoccupied with things to do with the occult mysteries and magic? Or were you just preoccupied with financial matters and you tried to prune and pare away wastage in your long-range investments, 401k, retirement investments, money connected to land and real estate? That was a priority, maybe January, February, March, April. Well, now you've got that under your belt. Deeper than that, as you were diving into soul work area of your chart. And now you're ready to align more with purpose. That purpose can involve teaching, higher education, book publishing. It can get you involved in relearning, going to school, traveling the world, visas and passports, going vagabonding. Go for it. Watch a bit out for the duck, around the 25th, 6th, 7th of April when Mars will be opposite Pluto. Exactly. But we're going to dive into that in a separate video. We're going to talk about what to do with that energy on a positive note. So stay tuned for that. It's too big to slam into one video. When you get to the month of May, there's support. Oh, wait, let's go back. What about that stellium and the artistic fifth house? Wow. What is your wound around sexual romantic love? And what is the wound you've been dealing with around creative and entrepreneurial projects, including writing, performing, art, whatever? You've been dealing with that energetic woundedness, and don't forget the sex wound, ever since 2019 when Chiron entered your fifth house, and you're trying to heal that, and you will be healed. It will be done by 2027 for sure. And because Chiron is with the sun exalted, who flows to witnesses Mars's ingress, there's mutual reception upon the ingress, and it does suggest that Sun is helping Mars and Mars is helping Sun to form a strong bond to move you towards a healing. So you can heal your romantic love stories by traveling abroad and meeting a true partner. You could heal your wound around your creative projects by publishing a book, writing a book publishing, ninth house, going back to school and getting a degree in creative writing. Things that want to happen here are to form a strong, definitive momentum around purpose and meaning, creativity, and art. Now, houses 5, good fortune, and 9 are very lucky houses. And this is a very lucky Mars direct motion, mid-April to mid-June. It can bring very positive developments towards you. If you have to go to court and fight over resources in a divorce settlement, you will win. And some of you may be separating assets out for sure because of the Mars's 4-month stay in that 8th house. But you have superior power in terms of your lawyer's defense or the legal judges and the rulings in your behalf. It looks very positive. Finally, what about May? May is offering blessed agreements, legal contracts, and vows, Jupiter sextiles. So that could be great for ending a marriage dispute or relationship coming apart in a good and positive way for both people. Jupiter can also bless your partner, and your love partner may have lucky breaks connected to book publishing, book publishing, foreign lands, and educational matters and visas, and some good developments in May for the significant other person in your life. I would also imagine that with Jupiter here, you may also find that you have a tendency, if you're single, to want to meet somebody new to heal that romantic sexual wound. But again, are you traveling abroad? Do you meet them in a university setting? Lucky ways to meet new people can show up that could become romantic in the month of May. Right. And in June, Uranus gets in square relationship. And energetically, a critical decision or action must be taken in the month of June. That could change the work you do in the world. It could change your job. It could change your relationship to your livelihood. And in June, that's important to know because then Mars goes into your 10th house and follows through. So critical changes in work and job, maybe situations with pets, sometimes rental properties, and those turning points that surprise you in the month of June. For example, a sudden opportunity to rent a property or rent out a property, or a sudden opportunity to get a pet, or a decision must be made regarding career matters and livelihood. All right, those are vibrational intensity in the month of June. And we're talking about, up until June 17th. Okay? Okay, I needed water. All right. Ugh. Wow. That's a tangy drink. Okay. Capricorn, I can't believe I'm still going. Sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, hallelujah. This is like 1977, 78 all over again, right? For a lot of us. Go back to what you were doing in September, October of this year. Were you separated from a significant other? Were you having discussions that were challenging? Were you arguing with a significant relationship partner? Were you having discussions with business partners or conflicts with trolls or clients? This would be September, October. When Mars was moving through your seventh house, then Mars ended up going out of your seventh house into Leo in November. And this is your eighth house. This is secrets and hidden things and betrayals. And this is your money and investments and money that comes from inheritances and money you share with others. And Mars went into your eighth house, and he was there until January 6th, turning around, by the way, retrograde on December 6th. So there's a quality of going into a place regarding money, shared assets with another, secrets, sometimes business partner monies, going in there in the month of November, and then turning around and leaving, going backwards and getting out of there by January 6th. So you weren't ready yet to make some definitive moves in this part of the chart. Now he's back again and will be here mid-April, 18th of April to 17th of June. Now he's ready to finish what he started in November, December. He knows what he needs to do. You might watch for the blowout on the third week of April with the opposition to Pluto, but we'll be doing a separate video on that, around money and somebody else and you and another's money maybe. But in the meantime, what Mars is doing here is he's making executive decisions and decisive actions to cut, end, and sever or pare away or prune out financial matters, selling stocks. If you're in settlements with like shared resources because of divorce, or battling for money and assets in divorce, or matters to do with alimony, spousal support, changes are here, must be made. Changes are happening in this part of the sky. And you're really focused, or the sky's focused there for you. And a lot of time when Mars is here, there are some battles around money, and you may battle with another around financial matters. It could be any other in your life, really. I can't tell you who. Or you're very aggressively taking action financially for another person. And we'll get to that in a minute, because maybe one of your children needs some money, or there's issues with children and money, adult children probably, in the month of June, right? I'll tell you now, in the month of June, when Mars will be squaring Uranus in the house of children. And so there may be some unexpected disruption in one of the lives of your children that requires you to come in with a financial bailout or support them or something like that. But there's those kinds of intensities in June. But before June, let's go back to the basics. With a stellium in the fourth house and Mars in the house of mortgages, banks, finances, lending, Jupiter in the house of rentals, multiple indications of possible change of home. Some of you might be renting a new home because of this ingress. We're talking about the 2 months, mid-April to mid-June. Some of you may be buying or selling a property, refinancing a mortgage, et cetera, even some of you getting a pet. But these are stories that are ready to happen because Mars is direct. He's moving through Leo for 2 months and he's fully charged. He's charged up in a way that he's raring to go. And, he's been sitting back waiting for this moment, right? Because he retrograded. He was getting like bow and arrow momentum, pulling the drawstring way back in order to lunge forward and go, I know what we're going to do. These are our financial decisions. These are our financial separations. These are our decisions around rental properties, money, to do with maybe something with your children in June. That's usually, the kind of thing I would say, surprising developments with one of your children, right, require you to step in. I don't mean your kid in kindergarten. I mean, maybe an adult child. And anything else I want to tell you? Chironic wound in home. All Cappies know I say, you've been like, where are you my home? Are you my home? So this chironic wound about feeling you belong to your home belongs to you, you fit in, you know where you live, you want to have a place of belonging, you want to feel like your home is your castle. You've been dealing with a problem since 2019. That's Chiron in the fourth house. Very reliable wound. Going to finish fully by 27. But in the meantime, there could be some healing of that wound because Mars's movement flowing to Chiron's sun in a mutual reception says, let's soothe the wound. And Mercury says, sign a contract, sign a lease, sign a buyer, purchase, or sale document. It's time to make a decision to move forward and get your chironic wound dealt with for a lot of Capricorns. And it's so funny. I have a Capricorn ex-husband who lives in Portugal, but I don't think he's happy in his home. I want to tell you, got a vibe going there when I was visiting. I think that there may be some changes in his decisions regarding his current home. I wouldn't be surprised if I hear about it, even though I plan to visit him in Portugal in the fall. Okay, so that's what I got for you guys. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. I am one of you. I'm an Aquarius rising. I have an Aries sun. For people keep saying, I thought you were an Aries. I thought you were an Aquarius. So, number one, I'm vibrating. I don't know why I'm vibrating. Is there an earthquake here, or am I just vibrating? I'm in the rarefied air of my own vibration. Look, I'm vibrating. I'm having a Kundalini activation. Okay, this is so much fun. I've been cleansing out because of food poisoning, so I'm eating like I'm on a spiritual retreat. Lots of like rice and avocado. Let's talk about the sky. It looks to me like basically Mars is wanting to cut through a relationship to a business partner, a significant other, or your clients and audience and marketplace. What does he do? He cuts away. He severs. He pares things down. This is your seventh house. He was trying to cut away and pare down your seventh house in November 3rd through until January 6th. But on December 6th, he cut away. He went backwards. So you've got kind of this November, December wishy-washy quality. And I can tell you for me, for example, I'm not going to see clients anymore. I'm done with clients. I need to, work on my book for my age. I got it. And you know what I did? Wishy-washy, Lori. I opened my calendar back up and I did see clients again. I can't believe I did that. So I'm just finishing a run of clients, March and April, and I'm done. I don't know if I'm going to turn the spigot back on. I need to be more in the creative flow, and I love my clients. I might just keep my Mondays open only. And so I can see for me, that's a great example. All right. But I'm also in a relationship and my partner lives in the United States and we've been apart. We've been separated. Mars cuts and separates. So we've been separated physically from each other because of this transit. Well, November and December, my partner left in early December, you see. So back to his country. So you can see that Mars is just sometimes practical, no hard feelings, right? Where I'm going to go back to my legally, where I can legally be, because, you can only stay in a certain country for so long. So there's things like Mars in the seventh house. So he's now wiser for it, right? He went back into your sixth house of karmic debts and debts in general. And he was in there, September, October, in your sixth house of debts, pets, work, dietary style, because of the trine to the second house, cleaning up your health act, working hard, paring away your debts or whatever. And then he literally came back. Now he's been there. He was there September, October. Then he returned there January, February, March to mid-April. What a lot of time he spent there. It's been a challenge, man. I've been working with various health things, and lately it's been more like, oh my God, really? But I'll tell you one thing. It's like 77, 78. If you're alive to live through that time frame, fall of 77 to June of 78, you can make stories that will make sense to you about how changes you made then were important, and now you're going to do something similar. So when Mars is now ready to go through your seventh house mid-April to mid-June, what cuts are you ready to make? And make them last and know that they're true and right. Are you cutting, or is it being cut? Because sometimes, like, this could be trolls from hell opposite Pluto. And boy, did I ever have trolls from hell in November after the election, right? It was awful. I just about shut my channel off. It was awful. So you will find trolls from hell coming off of the sky. I'm ready for that. But you may also find something to do with how you wish. And I'll be doing a video in April about the opposition, end of April. You may be finding yourself wondering if you need to come into the place of Pluto. I've got to tell us, if you're Aquarius rising, especially sun and moon, maybe yes, secondarily, you're given the power of Pluto, which is to be a force of evolutionary, divine intelligence and willpower. And so your life is not exactly your own the way it normally is. St. Francis, make me an instrument. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Yeah, da, da, da. You are an instrument for something bigger. Capricorns have already lived through it. And in this regard, no matter what goes on in your seventh house, the trolls, the marriage partner, being angry, cutting out the relationship, maybe the situation with the business partner being fraught with challenge, you have the upper hand. You have Pluto. You are Pluto. It's not an upper hand like you have to win. You have the deep forces of transpersonal will that move through the situation to direct you in the right way. I had a falling out with a female in my life during the Mars ingress into Leo, November and December. So there's so many ways that looks to me like a divine plan. So get ready for the, recurrence of this energy. By the time it's over on June 17th, you'll know what you want. With a stellium in the third house, the sun is exalted, and it is with Mercury and Chiron and Neptune. So here's a vibe. The exalted sun and mutual reception to Mars is things that are going on, changes that are being made, endings and separations and cuttings in audience, marketplace, clients, significant relationships and business partnerships, lends itself to an exaltation of writing, communicating, traveling, teaching, learning, social media, beasting, healing a chironic wound around your writing, communicating, and it can also lead to exalted travel opportunities and teaching and learning opportunities and exalted writing opportunities in the wake of this directional shift or movement into Leo. And this is true all the way through until mid-June because it bakes in this energy. And you're healing a chironic wound here that you've had since 2019 around those third house stories. One of the things I could say about the energy of Jupiter is luck. Jupiter is a luck planet in a luck house, the house of good fortune. And Jupiter shows in the month of May superior luck in relationship to Mars, maybe superior luck in legal contracts or audience, marketplace, client stories that fortify luck financially, luck connected to creative and entrepreneurial projects, for example. And Mars is the ruler of your 10th house of career. And so that's also career luck for you as well. And that's the month of May. And yes, Jupiter can win lottery tickets and stuff like that. And so you may win something that's possible in the month of May, especially if it's a local lottery, because Mars rules the house of the local neighborhood and environment. So wish me luck on my local hospital lottery draw in the month of May. I also can say that Uranus gets up ahead of steam with a kind of square to Jupiter in the month of June, is really pushing for an agenda that has an immediate need to make actions and decisions happen regarding homeland, property, and real estate, and moving or changing where you live or changing your plans about it or changing your plans about where you live in connection to legal contracts or significant others. Is it a positive surprise? I don't know. It's just a change that surprises you and you're making some rapid decisions and urgent actions around it. That's going to be true kind of like all of June till the 17th when this story is coming to a close. So, but June is that intense energy. Okay. So if like I have a landlord giving me notice and I think I've got a game plan about how this thing's going to go, but then I get to June and there's some unexpected surprises that change my next home moving game plan. You see what I'm saying? But it's okay. I'm going to roll with the punches or roll with the excitement, either one. Fear is excitement without the breath. I'm going to keep telling myself that. That's what I've got for us. Now we're moving on to Pisces. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a story and a half. You got to go back in time to 77, 78 to find anything comparable. Mars moving through your fifth house, of course, September, October, may have put you in situations where you were focused a lot on your children or your romantic love partner or your entrepreneurial and creative projects. And then Mars left and he came back, went into your sixth house of work and health. My sister is a Pisces and she hurt herself. She slipped and fell. Yes, Mars can cause injuries in the sixth house or disputes and lawsuits as well. And intensity around employment, employer situations and work, as well as health, as pets can also be problematic. So that was true that Mars went into this part of your chart, November, December, and brought those things to light. But then he retrograded December 6th, wasn't ready to deal with the sixth house, fully deal with the health issues, fully deal with the pet, fully deal with the debts you have to pay off. Okay, so I know a Pisces who wants to go bankrupt to get rid of a debt, and it's a feasible plan. You can do that. If you're not going to be able to pay it off, you can declare bankruptcy. So that would be an example of something maybe considered in November, December, but now ready to be enacted, as Mars is going to be in the house of debts and elimination of debt. And he'll be in your sixth house of debt elimination for a while. Yes, 2 whole months, guys. So mid-April to mid-June, go ahead and do your debt elimination program. Cut through your debts, cut through your spiritual debts, your karmic debts, and your real life debts. It's time. It's time. It's time. Mars here is also talking to Pluto across the way, especially the third week of April, around the 26th. This is okay. Don't panic. You've been through it already, November 3rd. But it can be like if you've injured yourself near November 3rd, then you be very careful, very, very careful around the 24th to the 28th of April. This is an accident waiting to happen on the axis of injuries and hospitals and stuff like that. So be careful. There's your heads up. There's your proactive warning. Don't leave your house. Okay. Otherwise, also, we'll be diving more deeply into the Pluto energy because this is a very karmic breakage energy for you, where you're breaking old karmic debt patterns and agreements in a once in a lifetime kind of vibe, almost not once in a lifetime, but first in a lifetime. All right. So next I want to mention that we have a stellium in Aries, and that's flowing from your second house of resources financially. Money you earn, money you save, money sometimes you spend. It's your financial kitty. It's your big bank account. It's what you've got available in your money pot. Well, you've got a chironic wound in your money pot, right? Ever since 2019, maybe also about your facial appearance and how you look. Mars can change your dietary style so you eat better. And as he flows to the stellium, an exalted sun in mutual reception says, yes, we're going to eat differently. We're going to change our food style, and we're going to be more badass. We're going to look better, feel better. We're going to have facial appearance improvements. We're going to get our hair cut. We're going to do things that make us look different. That's all good. Now, one thing about this energy is that it's about your earnings too. And I like this. Mercury is very commercially successful when engaging Mars. So you begin to get your mojo going around job, money, earnings, and resources. It could be entrepreneurial. It could be getting hired. It could be any kind of money. But making money from the Artha 2 and 6 with passion, drive, ardor. Mars is in the house of his joy. That's why you got to put him to work. If you don't have Mars going to work, you're going to fall, slip, burn yourself, get injured, have fights and disputes, with like gnarly people. You want Mars to be working, and he's in the house of his joy, in the house of work. So this is where, by being available for a job or getting some work or doing some kind of work which you make money at it, then you're going to find it kind of a remedy for injury. And that's going to be true for you. Yes, April 18th to June the 18th. Now, one thing I would say is there's such love with Jupiter in the fourth house throughout the month of May that your work may be very satisfying and bringing you great prosperity in the home, or you may be teaching from home or finding bounty from home and maybe working from home, or you may find that the work is allowing you to expand your home, rent a new home, buy a new home. This is often a rental signature. If you're looking as a Pisces for a rental property to rent for yourself as a tenant, or to rent a room in your home or rent out your home, then things are golden, lucky, and beautiful for you in the month of May. In the month of June, there's some unexpected surprises in the third house that are going to demand of you a decision and intention to make action happen. It could be good. This is the third house of writing, communicating, social media, online world. Uranus is the unexpected. He's also the internet. It's also Algol, a wealth star. But if you get a little burst of financial gain here or some good things happening, like getting a job in the local neighborhood even, then for some reason you need to make some really big decisions and take some really quick moving action in the month of June. Beginning of June through to the 17th. Some of you may change your home because you need to move closer to a job situation. And now you've got everything, all the pegs are falling into place in the month of June. An unexpected surprise from a cousin, aunt, uncle, siblings younger than you, siblings in general, shocking, surprising development. Surprise! This is the month of June. You may find that you can benefit from that person, but again, what decisions and actions are you making? This is also, if you're still trying to eliminate debt, there's a sort of a surprise that comes through. Maybe a bank wants to loan you money. I don't know, but you're going to have to take some action on matters to do with debts and unexpected surprises with either online or local businesses. Brick and mortar or the online business world all belong to the third. And if you do any online social media stuff, maybe it's actually just making a decision regarding work and work matters in connection to some breakthroughs in your social media and online environment. Because Uranus is just as much a surprise as it is a breakthrough. And I think that's what I've got for you. I hope I didn't short shrift you, because don't forget, you got Saturn and then Saturn in the third week of May, joining Neptune in the second house, and you can begin to make your financial dreams true over the 3 years that come into being, 25, 26, 27, into that time frame, really solidifying some superior financial gains in your life through arduous, determined hard work and discipline, and visualizing and kind of fantasizing so that Saturn can make it real. So the imagination meets the reality architect Saturn in your money and financial matters. So that's coming for you. And you get a taste of that May the 25th through to September 1st, when both Saturn and Neptune are in your second house. We'll be doing a whole video on that major ingress in the month of May. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I cannot believe I did 2 videos back to back. This video is going out, I think, on Tuesday, Mars's Day. And then I have another drop on Thursday, probably for the next lunation. And then coming up on the weekend that follows, the 19th, 20th of April, my all signs drops are coming out for your video, your 20 to 30-minute video for your sign, delineating the month of May. Okay, guys, I'll see you soon. Check me out on Patreon, Substack. Everything is down below.